Hello everyone. Regardless of whether we are born female or male, we have both divine feminine and divine masculine energy within us. But this particular video is geared towards those of you who are born male. It is designed to help you to release resistance to your own gender and to allow the divine masculine within you to wake up. For many centuries, masculinity has been seen as the enemy. It's been seen as the bad guy, more of a problem than something to be embraced. This is because it is rare that any man exhibits divine masculine. So the only example of masculinity we have is the shadow side of masculinity. This shadow side of masculinity fuels the societal idea of competitive hierarchy, that there can be one person on top. In other words, the shadow side of masculinity perpetuates vertical thinking. Vertical thinking is comparative thinking, where it is possible to be better than or less than someone else. And so the power struggle is born. And so the Abrahamic religions are born. When a solo male god became the source of life and hope for salvation, the feminine characteristics of fertility, creation, destruction, and life were now seen as masculine qualities, and femininity was diminished. And men, drowning in the shadow sides of masculinity, not divine masculine, ruled the earth. They ruled the earth with domination, control, and patriarchy. Things that have nothing to do with divine masculinity. Divine masculine represents action, direction, movement, responsibility, strength, focus, fatherhood, the sun, generosity, encouragement, material abundance, clarity, intellect, authority in its pure form, transformation, and growth. The divine masculine is what is going to support the birth process of the new earth, which is being brought into manifestation by divine feminine. Thus, it is a co-creation. To allow the divine masculine to surface within you, you need to search for those qualities which are representative of divine masculine, and allow those qualities to express themselves through you. Each man is a unique expression of divine masculine. So just like I said in last week's video, only relative this week to masculinity, divine masculinity is not about deciding what divine masculine is or isn't, and then conforming to that idea. It's about finding out what unique expression divine masculinity takes within you. It's about you individually coming into alignment with divine masculine. And that's going to be different from one man to the next. You should ask yourself, is there any part of the traditional male role in society which I actually enjoy? For example, do you enjoy going to the gym? Or do you go because you think you should, and you'll be unlovable to women if your muscles aren't big enough? It's time for you to sort through the aspects of masculinity which you have resistance to, and those which you don't have resistance to. It's time for you to search through the ones you want to perpetuate and the ones you want to do away with. One man might feel differently towards gentlemanlike behaviors like opening doors for women and being the one that pays at dates, while another might love it. The time has come for you to sort through your life and your ideas relative to what traditional male roles look like, and to keep the ones which you personally resonate with, and to discard the ones that you don't. Some men may have resistance to the idea of being the traditional provider. They may not actually enjoy opening doors for girls. Another might love it. So the first You might need to look at the reasons why they have resistance to those things, and discover whether that resistance comes from an actual place within them or from negative beliefs. And then, that person in the aforementioned scenario may wish to discard that behavior. Maybe they want to find a woman who doesn't like doors opened for them. Now, if you're a person who examines those beliefs in the traditional male roles and you find that many of them you do actually like, some you may not have actually been doing up to this point, but you enjoy the idea of doing them, now's the time to start doing them. The key here is that you want to look for the traditional male role, what aspect of that you enjoy, and keep it, and discard the ones you don't actually enjoy. We have to be really honest with ourselves, though, about why we don't enjoy those things or why we do enjoy those things. Does that come from a positive emotional space or a negative emotional space? Does it come from a place of fear or from a place of personal empowerment? As you can all tell, this time around I was born a woman, so this video would be void of personal experience, because I have no experience with being a man in today's modern society. And so, I thought it'd benefit all of you if I invited someone onto the screen who, in my opinion, has learned how to embody divine masculine. His name is Fallon.
Men are not designed to be bad or evil. They're not inherently bad and evil like I was taught. Growing up Mormon, there was a scripture that was quoted all the time, that the natural man is an enemy to God. And I saw that in everywhere I looked. Growing up, I would see women being victims of violence and rape and abuse, and my whole life all I wanted to do was protect the women in the world. And I wanted to protect them from me especially, because I knew how angry and violent I could get, and how I could appear to be scary or hurtful to the women in my life. And what's more frightening is to hide your feelings. What's more abusive is to invalidate someone else's feelings, or to say that they're not important, especially women's. Because although we may be direct and say things to women that can definitely offend, our hearts can be in the right place, and we can give them the love and support that they need when we tend to challenge or push them. And we are inherently good. There are good things about us, and that's how I think we should see ourselves. I feel that the divine masculine means to allow the direct expression of the male essence in every man, and to do that without fear of retribution. And that's our whole society has taught that men are terrible, that they're out to hurt and to take advantage of women. So I feel that to embrace the divine masculine means to open our hearts to the way we feel, which is passionate, which is powerful, and which can frighten others. But it's what we're here to do. We're here to push forward, to create and make the life that we want for ourselves and others.
As men, you don't want to be an asshole. Right now you associate masculinity with being a jerk, but that has nothing to do with masculinity. The goal is to awaken the highest aspect of masculinity, not to become testosterone-driven, competitive egomaniacs. It just so happens that the standard of the masculine man is the man whose divine masculinity is drowning in shadow aspects, otherwise known as the asshole. Which is why I said in my previous episode that divine masculine has never actually come into power here on planet Earth. so you don't actually know what it looks like yet. The only version most of us see is not an actual version of divine masculine. So here are some suggestions which will help you come into alignment with the divine masculine within you. Number 1, explore your feelings relative to fatherhood and your own father. Your first interaction with divine masculine was your father. And so, if you have any kind of resistance to him, you have resistance to the divine masculine within you. This doesn't mean that you have to reconnect with your father in this life physically. This doesn't mean he has to be alive. It means that you have to revisit all of those thoughts relative to your father. You have to release resistance to them. Start coming into a place of forgiveness relative to your father. Start sifting through all of the crap that he fed you. Find the pure essence of who you are as a man separate of your father. He may or may not have been a good example of what divine masculinity was, but you sure as hell should not judge divine masculinity against him. Explore your beliefs and thoughts relative to fatherhood. It doesn't matter whether you want to be a father or not, whether that's something you're intending for this life. But if you have resistance to fatherhood, you have resistance to an aspect of divine masculinity, because fatherhood is an aspect of divine masculinity. So whether you're deciding to have children or not, whether you want it or not at this point, explore your feelings relative to it. Try to pull yourself into alignment, into positive beliefs relative to fatherhood. Examine the current perspective of manhood in your specific society, in your specific culture. Does that actually reflect divine masculinity to you? Or does it reflect some shadow aspect? What does it mean to be a man in the family you grew up in? As I said in the last video, what it means to be a man in the culture you live in the family you live in is going to vary. It'll vary even in the very same country that you live in. For example, where I live, in the USA, masculinity means being the provider, protecting and defending women and children, managing money, chasing status, either playing or watching sports, or both, being the head of the household, responsibility, strength, hunting, weaponry, gaining power, being a husband, being a father, not expressing fears and other emotions, especially not crying, having a successful career, achievements, owning a nice car, building or maintaining fitness and physical prowess. This usually means working out at a gym. Being able to fix things, doing the manual labor jobs around the house, opening doors for women, doing the heavy lifting for women, being the one that pays on dates, shaving facial hair, or deliberately growing it out. In this country, no one can agree which one is more manly. Standing up for yourself and others, keeping your hair short, confrontation, and being goal-oriented. You want to examine these ideas about what it means to be a man in your culture, in your family, in your society, and decide which ones you resonate with and which ones you don't. If we grow up in a culture that identifies manhood with providing, it is easy to feel inadequate as a man if we do not enjoy working a 9-to-5 job and would rather raise children instead. It may feel as if there is something wrong with you because you watch other men who are successful at their own careers and feel as if their soul is flourishing when they are competing and earning promotions in the workplace. Then you feel guilty about it. Because of that guilt, you may try to force yourself to try to enjoy a competitive career in the same way that these other men do. This is the time to remind yourself that divine masculine expresses itself in different ways. Just because you're a different kind of father doesn't mean you're less of a father for doing it your way, instead of trying to conform to society's ideas of what fatherhood should and shouldn't look like. It could be that for you, working a 9-to-5 job while your wife stays at home with the kids is not an expression of divine masculine within you. For you, allowing yourself to be the primary caretaker of your children may just be allowing the divine masculine within yourself to express itself. We could simplify divine masculine energy in this way. Divine masculinity is forward-moving energy. Anything that is not forward-moving energy is a suppression of the divine masculine. So the next tip is, get some momentum and forward movement going in your life. I want you to pretend like you're watching yourself for a day in your life. Visualize just watching yourself. Can you identify areas in your life which are stagnant, where you're sort of standing still or feeling stuck? Then I want you to think about what you could do right now here in this minute. What action you could take that would bring momentum and forward movement to those areas of your life. When you make a decision, and decisiveness is forward-moving energy, thus serious divine masculine energy, you close a door to what you don't want and you open a door to what you do want, and this prevents your energy from becoming scattered. Instead, your energy moves forward, sort of like a missile locked on a target. You also want to make sure when it comes to forward-moving energy that you're willing to make mistakes. Divine masculinity is all about willingness to make mistakes. Why? Because if we're looking at those mistakes in an appropriate way, they benefit our forward movement. We can use them to propel us. No more hiding from your fears. Masculinity is about taking on your fears head on. If you are feeling like you are unwilling to make mistakes, you are suppressing the divine masculine within you. Adopt a confident posture. We understand that confident thinking is going to naturally create a confident posture within your body. But it also works in reverse. You can use confident body expressions, a confident posture, to convince your mind that you are confident. Stand up straight and tall, with your shoulders back, chest exposed. Walk with purpose. Look at people in the eye. You want to think about holding your body in a posture that exudes purpose. Everything about masculinity is direct. Deliberately focus on making your movements sure. This is quite different than using body posture that is defensive. Divine masculinity does not actually manifest in the body as closed defensiveness, which is ironically what many of us identify as masculine. We've all seen the gorilla guy at the gym. Masculine energy is not a wall, instead it is very open. But the energy of divine masculine rushes forward to meet you. Making sure that your posture reflects masculinity goes hand in hand with making sure your clothes reflect masculinity. This is going to change based on what culture you live in. But you want to wear clothes that fit you. If you're drowning in your clothes, you will naturally feel smaller, and this can diminish masculine energy. So take a look at your wardrobe. Does your current personal style reflect who you want to be? Which is who you really are. Or does it reflect someone you don't want to be any longer? Does it make you feel powerful and forward-moving, or does it make you feel young, small, and stagnant? If your personal style does not reflect the masculinity within you, it is time to change your personal style. The next tip is, be an active giver. Masculinity is not a passive receiver of love, it is an active giver of love. This means, in order to express divine masculine, you need to learn how to initiate. Initiation relative to everything in your life, whether it's a job opportunity, or asking a woman out on a date, or initiating a passionate kiss. Be a transmitter. Masculinity is generous relative to everything, itself and its resources. This applies to sex as well. Sexuality is an aspect of divine masculinity in the same way that sensuality is an aspect of divine femininity. So you want to learn how to channel your sexuality instead of getting stuck purely in lust. A real man doesn't let his sexual energy get stuck in the sacral chakra, in the center of lust. He allows it to come through his heart and his mind. What this means is, next time you feel yourself getting stimulated sexually, I want you to breathe it up through your body, through your spine, through your chest and neck, up through your eyes, and through your head. I want you to learn to use that energy and to channel it towards anything you want. Sexual energy is a powerful energy. It can get a lot of things done. Visualize your sexual energy flooding your whole body. Channel this energy towards heart-centered pursuits. Let it drive you to action. Radiate that energy through your heart chakra. You are not at the mercy of your carnal energies. This is energy you can channel towards anything you desire. It is the fear of rejection that makes you a match to rejection, not the fact that you have powerful sexual energy which scares anyone off. The next tip is, take on the role of the encourager. As if I haven't stressed it enough, divine masculine energy is forward-moving energy. So if you're the worrier or the skeptic, you're suppressing your divine masculinity. Masculinity seeks to encourage people towards growth, encourage people towards their own path and purpose, not suppress it in others. So divine masculinity is not a warning energy, it's a supportive energy. In fact, being the person who supports, being the person who encourages, is actually the highest form of love, of divine masculinity that expresses itself in the physical dimension. So, divine masculinity, when it is showing love in the physical dimension, what that looks like is support and encouragement. Masculine energy is about encouraging people towards their fears, encouraging them to make the attempt, whatever that attempt is towards. Honor their process. Allow them to make mistakes without rescuing them. The rescuer is not part of manhood. It is not part of divine masculinity. Instead, it is a part of boyhood. It represents a boy trying to prove himself, and a man does not need to prove himself. The next tip is, take responsibility. Your ability to express divine masculinity rests on your ability to take control and charge of your own personal life, to take responsibility for your thoughts, words, and actions. This means no more blaming other people for your problems. You can only move forward when you discover what you are doing to hold yourself back. You can only change yourself. Hold yourself accountable for everything. Catch yourself in the act if you're acting like a victim and take back the reins. This includes knowing when to say, "I'm sorry." Part of taking responsibility for yourself is knowing yourself. A big part of forward movement, of divine masculine, is the inner quest for self-actualization. If you are avoiding things, most especially yourself, you are suppressing the divine masculine. The next tip is, pick a skill or an expertise to develop fully. Divine masculinity, being about forward movement, is all about this. Think about the word, excel. To excel in a field is to move forward in a field, to grow within a field. It doesn't matter what you pick as your field to gain some sort of expertise in. What matters is that you pick something to excel at. Some of you who have extreme resistance to divine masculine within you may benefit by picking something which you already identify as masculine. The next tip is, examine your resistance relative to being a male on the mental, physical, and spiritual levels. Resistance is a word we use to describe the energy behind negative emotion. Do you have resistance, therefore negative emotion, relative to how tall or short you are? Do you have resistance relative to being a husband? Do you have resistance relative to opening doors for women or paying for dates? Do you have resistance relative to your job? Do you have resistance to your level of fitness? Do you have resistance towards being direct with others? Do you have resistance to sex? If you feel resistance relative to any aspect of life that you identify as male, you have something in the way of divine masculine within you. For example, you do not need to play sports to embrace the divine masculine, but you are suppressing the divine masculine as long as you associate sports with being male and continue to harbor resistance to sports. Try to find your core beliefs relative to the resistance you feel and then release those core beliefs. Nothing helps divine masculine shine through better than releasing your resistance relative to the things that you associate with masculinity. Does some part of you believe that it isn't manly to express your emotion? or to get your hands dirty raising children. Many of the beliefs that you hold about masculinity have nothing to do with actual masculinity. They're just a cultural byproduct of resistance. You need to be willing to heal your resistance relative to anything that you identify as male. If you're going to truly embrace the divine masculine within you. You need to be willing to heal your negative emotions relative to anything that you identify as masculine. If you're going to set the divine masculine within you free. It is time to stop suppressing who you are. And trust me, the minute that women stop accepting the role of victim and come into our own power in the divine feminine, we will thank you for it. We won't be resisting your power anymore. We'll be coming into our own. We're not actually attracted to what you have turned into. We don't respect it. The next tip is, learn about women. Learn about our cycles, learn about our bodies, learn about our minds, our cultural conditioning, our desires. In the past, men have seen this as an off-limits subject, as if to be a true man, you could not actually learn about femininity. You couldn't even be around it. But how do you intend to support the divine feminine and conjoin with the divine feminine if you know nothing about it? All that is childlike ignorance. The more you learn about women, the more confidence you'll have around them. This is especially important if you are in a relationship with someone. Every woman is different. We are only a mystery if you don't take the time to understand us individually. Part of your unwillingness to be direct and move forward with women is because you don't understand them. So learn how to ask questions and pay attention to us. You have a great many beliefs about women that do not serve you. Continuing to say that women are a mystery sets you up for failure, because if you're convinced we are a mystery, we always will be. This is the time for me to dispel with a theory that you hold relative to women. And the theory goes like this. Women secretly love assholes or men that treat them badly. It's not true, but I want to explain why it seems that way. One of two things is happening. Either one, our fathers didn't treat us very well. So we are constantly love reincarnating our fathers because our brains are trying desperately to get the love that we needed from our father. So if we can make a guy who treats us badly treat us well, we have subconsciously solved our daddy issues. We are biological creatures that are driven towards finding safety and driven towards finding a genetic match which will ensure that our children will survive. It just so happens that most men who are protective and subconsciously make us feel safe and possess the features that we subconsciously associate with strong offspring tend to be more jockish, straightforward, and aggressive. We are not attracted to the asshole within them. We are simply not attracted to weak meekness. We are attracted to the little bit of divine masculinity that shines through these men. And since so few men have learned to awaken their divine masculine, we take all we can get. We want a man who is a perfect blend, one who is tender towards us and towards children, but who possesses the masculinity we melt for and feel safe with. But we're simply convinced that this type of man doesn't exist, and so we settle. I realize as women, we tell you a very confusing story. Come support me, and then we push you away. We want you to be men and do things for us, but we want to do everything for ourselves. We have a push away, come here type attitude. This is not your fault. This is because it is confusing to be a woman. We want you to open doors for us. Most of us just don't know it yet because we've been taught this makes us powerless to you and incapable. It has nothing to do with you. This is not your problem. We as women have not come into our own divine power, and so we're still fighting you for power. We are full of beliefs about the things that strip us of our freedom and power over our own lives and bodies, and so we're afraid to let you be men. We have erroneously believed for years that the manlier you are, the more we get hurt. Why? Because our model of masculinity is the asshole too. So, feel free to question those of us who are stuck in a fight against you for our own sense of power. Expose us to your beliefs about it. It will aid our expansion as well. Most of us women haven't questioned our beliefs relative to gender roles, so help us out. We hate fighting against you this hard. We're too damn stressed in our own lives to keep it up, and it isn't healthy for us or for you. If you're interested in learning more about divine masculinity, I would suggest reading the book King, Warrior, Magician, Lover by Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette. Divine masculinity does not need to be created. It already is the essence of who you are. All that you need to do is to clear out the things which are in the way of that masculine energy. You don't need to do work to wake it up. It's already awake. You've just been putting something in front of it. All of your beliefs, all of these actions you've been taking that you think are culturally expected of you, that tampen down the masculine energy within you. You should let them fall. None of us actually benefit by those walls being up anyway. And I can tell you personally, as a sensual woman, there is nothing more intoxicatingly addictive than a man whose divine masculinity is awake. Have a good week.